Welcome to our Flutter tutorial. Today, we'll be learning how to fetch API data using the block pattern, and handle different states such as loading, error, and data screens. Hi everyone, in this tutorial, we'll explore how to use the block pattern to manage API calls and display appropriate screens based on the state of our data. Let's get started. I have already created a new project here. In this tutorial we will create an app with a screen which will show a list of posts fetched from API. This screen will show error, loading and data widget based on the state of the block. First, we need to add the necessary dependencies for our project. Open your pubspec.yaml file and add the following dependencies: block, for state management, and HTTP for making API calls. Now run flutter pub get command to install these dependencies. Now we have installed the dependencies, let's create a new screen, named Home Screen. In this folder, first we will create a modal class for post and a repository class to fetch the data from the API. In this post modal we have ID, title and a body of the post. Let's generate the required methods for the modal class. Now our modal class is ready. Let's create the repository class. In this class we will add a method fetchPosts to fetch the posts from the API. This method will fetch the data with HTTP package from the given URL, and if the status code is 200, the data will be decoded and returned as a list of posts. And, if the status is not 200, then an exception will be thrown. Here we are throwing this exception so that we can know there is some error happened in fetching the data and show error screen to the user. Now, let's set up our block to manage the states of our API call. Create a new block home screen block. First let's create a fetch post event inside the event class. This event will be called when the block is created so that the data will be loaded. Now in the state class create three states: loading state, loaded state and error state. All this state will decide which widget to show on the UI. Here, we define our block with an initial state, and handle the fetching of posts inside the fetchPosts event. First let's add a variable for post repository to access the repository class. Now let's handle the fetchPosts event. Whenever this event is called we will first emit the loading state so that the loading UI will be shown to the user. After that we will call the fetchPost method of the repository to fetch the data, and as soon as the data is fetched we will emit the loaded state with the fetched post list to show the post list on UI. But we have not handled the error yet. Let's wrap this inside try-catch block, and whenever exception is catched we will emit the error state with error message to show on the UI. Finally, let's create the UI to display the different states. Create homescreen.dart file and set up your UI. We will wrap the whole screen inside of BlocBuilder so that whenever a new state is emitted the UI will be refreshed. To use BlocBuilder you need to add a package called Flutter Block. Here in the builder function, if the state is initial state, we show a text widget, and if the state is loading, we will show the circular progress indicator to the user, and if the state is loaded we will show the list of posts inside a list tile with title and body of the post that we are getting from the state parameter. If there is an error we will show the error message on the center of the screen. Now only one step left. We need to add a block provider to root of the widget tree so that the block builder can access the home screen block. Let's create a home screen block instance and pass the post repository instance inside it. Ideally this should be done with some dependency injection method, but for the simplicity we are directly adding the new instance. Run the app on your emulator or device. You should see a loading indicator, followed by the list of posts. If there's an error, you'll see an error message. Oh, we forgot to add one thing. We need to add the fetch post event when the block instance is created, because when the event is fired, then only the fetch posts method will be called and the posts will be loaded. Let's add a card widget to make the UI a little bit better. Now it's looking good. Let's see how the error screen will look. Here we will emit the error state to mimic the error while loading the list. Here you can see the error message at the center of the screen. And that's it. We've successfully implemented the block pattern to fetch API data in Flutter and displayed different screens based on the state of our data. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tutorials. Happy coding!